Hi, this is Zak Mir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Vox Markets for Monday the 9th of August. And starting off with Argo Blockchain, where the shares have so far managed to resist the mudslinging that's been present in the market today. We had the low there at £1.15, which just about hit that January support line there. We had a brief dip below it last month and hit that line at 1.15. So I suppose if you're looking for a line in the sand, that would be the place if you're concerned about the latest developments or alleged developments. Otherwise, it looks as though we're heading back towards the £1.40 area, which is the main challenge for the stock. That's been post-June resistance for the shares. So 150 to 140, the range at the moment. Can't really say much unless that is broken. The other positive at the moment is the RSI still above neutral 50, which means that technically we are half full rather than half empty. On to a more usual fare now with Cyanconnode, one of our sort of more reliable stocks in the recent past, and shares underlining that today with the latest move. We've had a couple of gaps up last week, and shares making good on that. There was the original gap there, or on the recent move anyway, through 9.5 pence or 9.4 pence in June. That's never been filled, and then we've gapped higher to start August, which is looking very healthy. Top of the channel here up to 17 pence, which could be hit as soon as the end of this month, provided that we remain above the 50-day moving average around 11.75 pence, above 11.75. Looking for 17 pence. We had a request again for this next stock, Corcel, which somebody seems to be very keen on, the requestee at least. Here we've had nice rebound off the 50-day moving average and old June resistance at 1.5 pence, and it looks as though the share is ready to head back towards the top of that rising trend channel from the end of last year, maybe 2.5, 2.6 pence as soon as the end of this month, if we can maintain the current momentum. But that support dip looks rather healthy, as does the rebound off RSI 50 as well. So Corcel looking quite sprightly at the moment. Next up, another of those stocks, which is one of the more reliable ones in the recent past. Here we've had Circassia build on its extended support test just below 30 pence and just around the 200-day moving average of 28 pence. Initial target here previously was towards 45, 46 pence, but it looks like we could stretch that up to the top of that rising 2020 price channel at 50 pence perhaps by the end of next month. At this stage, early and end of day close back below that mid-July peak there at 36.5, really questioning or delaying the upside scenario. Moving along to a stock which has been a bit of in the wars of late, Evgen Pharma, but seems to be rehabilitating itself at the moment. I did say before that we were looking for an end-of-day close above the bottom of the gap there at around, what was that, 5.25 pence. Bit of sort of jiggery-pokery with the 5 to 5.5 pence area, but from Thursday, Friday, the shares have finally broken that 5.5 pence area and look like they'll head towards at least that resistance line from June around 6.75. But overall, with that bear trap reversal, you could see the shares back up towards 9 to 9.5 pence if we can clear that 50-day line sometime this week. At this stage, only back below 5.5 anyway, really questioning the rebound scenario for Evgen. Moving along to a stock which I've covered quite a lot recently because it looks as though it is in recovery mode. Here we've got global petroleum, a bit of a down day on Friday, but here we've got the situation where we're just looking for that end of day close through 0.61, 0.62. That would close that gap down that we had in April and finish off that chapter hopefully, and above the low 0.6s, let's say up towards a penny at the top of that broadening triangle from the end of March, and that could maybe seen by the end of September if we are lucky. Moving along to one of the sort of highlights of the day, the Bluejay mining. Here we've had the JV, which seems to star or have a link to Bezos and Gates, which is always nice. Here we've had a gap through that resistance line there from December, and the 200-day moving average at 10.5 pence. Above 10.5, we're looking towards a best case scenario target up to 18 pence at the top of last year's trend channel. That could be seen by, let's say, the end of October, something like that, maybe sooner than that. In fact, what will be key, though, is that we have a few end-of-day closes above June resistance around 11.5 pence. If we can get that early this week, then we are more valid in terms of projecting up to 18 pence for the early autumn. Don't normally look at the bigger ticket stocks, but too difficult to resist Deliveroo, which has obviously been described as flopperoo by some in the media, mainstream media, I suppose. Here we've got a rising trend channel from back in the end of March. And what's interesting here is that the shares have cleared that initial resistance, always key when a stock breaks the initial opening range, and obviously it did that to the downside first, but breaking 344.94 on an end of day close basis this week could be the start of a move for Deliveroo up towards the £4.80 mark by the end of next month, and would sort of rehabilitate the whole story that we've had. Rather, obviously, clearly floated the stock a little bit too expensively earlier this year, but Golden Cross we had at the end of last month as well, between the 50 and 200 day moving averages, so things starting to look rather more healthy for Deliveroo at the moment. Now onto a stock which wasn't familiar with before. I knew the Epic code, but we've got Civota on the runway. The reason for the inclusion today is that we've broken that initial range there for the shares around £1.18, and above 1.18 we're trying to guess where the top of the range would be. That notional price channel top's heading towards £1.60. That might be achieved by the end of next month if my charting artistry is correct. Otherwise, back below 118 sort of kills the idea of a breakout. Another stock which I've been looked at recently is Tower Resources, and difficult to resist looking at it again today. Really bounced off hard off the old resistance there at 0.37, 0.38, and heading up towards the 0.6 area, which is the top of a broadening triangle from back in June last year. After that, I suppose we can look towards 0.75, 0.8, but let's just see how we do with 0.6 first. And the upside argument valid while we hold above today's initial low around 0.45. Just 3 stocks to go now, and first is Trackwise Designs, which again has a lot of charting interest. We've got an island reversal here, so we gapped down back in June and then gapped up last month, so that's a pretty strong charting signal. Closed above the top of the gap, which is at 190 just sort of last week or the week before last, and really powered ahead now. The view is that end of day close through recent, I suppose, £2.45 resistance, which it looks as though we'll get today, should take the shares up to another leg up around the 280 mark, which was the March resistance on the daily chart. Time frame on that perhaps as soon as the end of this month. Next up is Woodbois, which I presume is the French link to wood, and that's I think what the company does. Here we've had a nice recovery for the stock after the gap, the bull trap that we had in April and May. Current situation is we've gapped through the 50-day moving average, and at least while we're above the 200-day line at 4.5, looking to see 6 pence, which was the initial June resistance for the shares. Big picture target maybe over the next 2 to 3 months as high as 9 pence, which is the top of that broadening triangle from May last year. Finishing off with a stock which just keeps on delivering on the fundamental front, and hopefully now after a little pause we'll start delivering on the technical front too. We've gapped off the floor of the rising trend channel from the end of January, which I've been quite loyal to over the recent past, to just sort of try to shake out those last nervous weak hands below 5.5 pence last week, but handbrake turn with a gap higher today and breaking that line of resistance from June. That pencils in as high as 9.5 pence by the end of next month, and if we're really lucky, I suppose the end of this month, but let's go for the end of next month just to be cautious. That's it from me today. More updates tomorrow.